Okay, so first thing I'll tell you is if you did problems number 1 and 2 correctly, you are really prepared for the test. You are in good shape, okay? I want you to write this down. There are 4 things that you are going to be asked on this test, and you have to be attentive to the directions in every problem to make sure that you are addressing the problem correctly, that you're saying, which one of these 4 things am I doing? So the 4 things are, you are either being asked to find the graph, find the slope, find the intercepts, or find the equation of a line. Graph, slope, intercepts, equation. Say it. Graph, slope, intercepts, equation. Repeat. Graph, slope, intercepts, equation. Repeat. Graph, slope, intercepts, equation. Yeah, you start to dance with this, okay? That's it. What's happening sometimes when I'm reviewing these concepts with students is I say something like, what's the graph of the line? And they say, undefined. Is a graph undefined? What are they finding when they say undefined?
Slope.
They're finding slope. And I ask them to find the graph. Yeah, make sure you're finding the right thing. And all you got to do is read the problem. Right? Problem identification. And those are the 4 words. Graph, slope, intercept, equation. Okay? All right, so up here, they asked us to find the graph, intercept, slope, and if 0,3 was the solution of the equation for the first 2 problems. Yes?
So when you say to find the equation, you want that always in mx plus b form? You've never...
We put it in, not related to these 2 questions, but to your question, when I say graph, slope, intercepts, equation, when I'm asking you to find the equation of a line, we're asking you to find its y equals mx plus b form.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. No, that's a beautiful question. 3x minus 4y equals negative 12. 3x minus 4y equals negative 12. So, you have how many methods of graphing? How many methods of graphing are there?
3.
What are they? Plug and chug,
intercept,
y equals mx plus b. So which method did you use to graph this? Who used plug and chug? Raise your hand. Who used plug and chug? Who used intercept method? Raise your hand. Who used y equals mx plus b? So the majority of you used y equals mx plus b. That's what I would have used too because it's my favorite method. I find it highly efficient. Intercept method though, it would have given you both the intercepts, so that's also a powerful method, especially in this instance where they're asking you to find both the graph and the intercepts as well as the slope. Y equals mx plus b will find the slope for you and one of the intercepts. Intercept method will not find the slope for you, but will find both of the intercepts. Okay, we're going to put this in y equals mx plus b form. We're going to subtract 3x. We're going to subtract 3x. This cancels. We get negative 4y equals negative 3x minus 12. We're going to divide by negative 4, divide by negative 4, and divide by negative 4. And we get y equals 3/4 x plus 3. Now, before we continue, can I share something with you, okay? How many times in this class have I asked you to do something other than homework before class to prepare for class? Most classes have you prepare before you go. Got to read something, right? Got to do something to prepare for a quiz. Today was one of those days, and I asked you to get this quiz done. Let me share this with you. Whenever you come prepared, you learn more. How many people have ever heard somebody speak at church on Sunday and they say, I don't know if this talk will be any good, but I got so much out of doing it. Who's heard them say, I've got so much out of preparing this talk? Right, of course, the person who prepares always gets the most, right? The person giving the talk actually gets more out of the talk than any of us ever will. All that preparation, all that time they spent preparing for it, right? Because they put the most time into it. We're listening to it for 8 minutes or 10 minutes or 12 minutes. They spent hours preparing for it, or an hour preparing for it, or whatever they spent. But they spent more time than you and I do listening to it. And whoever puts the most in gets the most out. So when you come to class unprepared, you aren't getting any more out of it. So if you're at home today, do this quiz, then watch the video. Don't do the quiz with us, okay? Check it out. So now that we have y equals 3/4 x plus 3, we can graph it. That's the first thing that we've been told we are to do. We're going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we have a y-intercept, b equals 3, and m equals 3/4. If b equals 3, 1, 2, 3, right there. and then we're going to rise 3 and run 4. So we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, and over 1, 2, 3, 4. Puts me about right there-ish, and my line looks like that. Okay? Say woo if your line looked like that. That's good. Okay? The next thing they asked us to find was the intercepts. Okay, so here's the graph. All right, so we want to know what the x-intercept is, and we want to know what the y-intercept is. Well, we know what the y-intercept is because
It's B.
y equals mx plus b. So what's my y-intercept? Give it to me as an ordered pair.
0, 3.
0, 3. Do not say 3, 0, or you'll get it wrong on the test. It's 0, 3. Okay? It's really important. I got a lot of problems on the test where it's multiple choice, and if they ask you for an intercept, you could accidentally put 3, 0 instead of 0, 3, get it wrong. Okay? So what's the x-intercept? Well, we got to do the math on that. To find an x-intercept, I always plug the opposite variable in as what value?
0.
0. Very good. So what's the opposite of x?
Y.
So we're going to set y equal to 0. We're going to take the original equation, 3x minus 4y equals negative 12. We're going to put 0 in here, so we got 3x minus 4 times 0 equals negative 12. This cancels, I get 3x equals negative 12. Divide by 3, and I get x equals negative 4. So at home, we're not, on video, we're not doing this slowly to teach you. We're reviewing. It's called a review quiz because we've assumed you've taken it, and right now, you've done this, and you've got this, right? So what is my x-intercept?
Negative 4, 0.
Negative 4, comma 0. So now I found my graph, I found my intercepts. My third thing was to find slope. So here's my intercepts. I was told to find both. My slope, I already have it. Why do I have it? Because I put it in y equals mx plus b form to graph it. So what's my slope?
3, 4.
Okay, so m equals 3/4. Okay, I want to show something to you. What if on a certain, set of answers, they put it in decimal form? Can you handle that? If they say it's 0.75 instead of 3.4, can you or 3/4, can you handle that? Okay, yeah. Usually it will be in fraction form, but occasionally, and we will see this on one problem on the test, they're going to convert 3/4 to 0.75. Okay? Question?
Yeah, so you use the standard form to be able to get the x-intercept. Is it okay to be able to use y
So,
equals mx plus b?
This is an awesome question. You're saying, all right, we converted this to this. Could I have set, to find my x-intercept, could I have set y equal to 0 here and then solved it that way? I could have, but there's two reasons I chose not to. One, what if I made a mistake here? Right? What if I made a mistake here? My graph will be wrong, but at least my intercept will be correct if I plug it back in here. Second thing is, what do I have right here? I got a fraction. And up here, I don't. And I didn't want to deal with fractions. Okay? It's not a big deal, though. You totally could have plugged it in here. But you've manipulated this. Did you manipulate incorrectly? Right? So the question again is, could I have plugged 0 in for y to find the x-intercept here? Yes, you could have, instead of plugging it in here. But, I didn't do it because it's a manipulated version of my equation. I'm the manipulator. I have human error potential. I thought, well, let's go back to the original. Okay? It's a good question. All right, and then finally, the last question on the board is 0, 3 a solution to the equation and a point on the line? Well, fetch me. 0, 1, 2, 3, it's right there. It's on my line. It's my right here, 0, 3. So the answer to that one is a resounding yes. 0, 3 is a point on the line, a solution to the equation. Now, could you have plugged it in? Plugged in 0 for x and 3 for y, yes, and then you could determine if the math is correct. You could have done it that way too, but you already have that as an answer here, so it should be pretty apparent to you. Cool? Does anybody want to take a picture of that? You can. You got about 5 seconds. If you don't worry about it. I'm going to erase it here in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Amen. All right, let's do the next one. So I had some students on the next problem, and they were kind of, twitching and, wedging in their mind and freaking out because they're like, I think you forgot to put a variable on that equation, Brother Rich. They're like, shouldn't there be a y after the 3 or something? Nope. 2x plus 3 equals 9. You can have an equation like this on your test. You're going to be asked to do something with this equation, like graph it or find its slope, okay? Or both. When you how many variables are in this equation? How many variables? One. Whenever you have a one variable equation, you have a blank or blank line. Fill in the blanks.
Horizontal or vertical?
Horizontal or vertical. Very good. Okay? So if I solve this, subtract 3, I get 2x equals 6, divide by 2, and I get x equals 3. Okay? I graph this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay? If x equals 3, okay? Well, there's 3, and I'm going to go straight up. It's a vertical line. There's my graph. Done. Okay? Intercepts. So they asked us to graph. There's the graph. They ask us to find the intercepts. Please look at this. This is pretty critical, actually. We're not going to set x equal to 0 and solve for y, or y equal to 0 and solve for x, because we don't have both an x and a y. My x-intercept is what?
3.
It's 3, 0. Very different than x equals 3. X equals 3 is an equation, right? Which makes it a line because it has this equal sign. This is a point, right? Because it's an ordered pair, and is the x-intercept. What's the y-intercept?
Just infinity.
It's non-existent, okay? Non-existent, all right? It does not exist, okay? Well, listen, whenever you have a horizontal or a vertical line, you've only got one intercept. You've either got an x-intercept or a y-intercept, but you will never have both with a horizontal and vertical line. You have to have slope to your line to cross both axes. Okay, when you have 0 or undefined slope, you don't have a slope. Okay? 0 is a slope, but you get me. Okay? You don't have a numerical value for your slope. 0 is a number. So, anyways, I'm contradicting myself constantly. It's fun. Yes?
So on the test, is it going to be, if there's a question like this, would we put non-existent or is it going to be 0?
Well, no, because if it was 0, it means it goes through the origin. It's non-existent. It does not exist. It's not 0. That's a good question. Okay? Now, we have our graph or intercepts. What's our slope? What's the slope of a vertical line? Undefined. Okay? So m equals undefined. And then they ask us, is 0,3 a solution? Okay? So is 0,3 a solution? No. Okay? And the way we know that is we come here and go 0 and then 1, 2, 3, and that point is not on our line. Cool? Say woo if you got all these right. Woo. It's impressive. If you got all these right, you are super prepared for this test. Not completely, but very much so. You've got the crux of the test under your belt. Okay? Let's rip through these other ones quickly. Okay? Some of these we're just going to do verbally on the board, together. Find coordinates of x and y intercepts in that order. We're given this graph here. You're going to be given a graph on the test. You're going to be asked to find its intercepts. You're going to be given another graph on the test. You're going to be asked to find its slope, just off of the graph. What are the x and y intercepts here for this line? Let's look at that. X-intercept is 4. Okay, so you count it over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 0. Very good. So it's 5, 0. And what is the y-intercept?
0, 3.
0, 3. Okay, I like it. So look up here. On the test, 5, 0, 0, 3. 0, 3, 5, 0. 3, 0, 0, 5. Okay? Which one's the correct answer?
Top one? The first one.
It's only the first ones. Because they said in that order. Okay? So this one is New Jack City. That's jacked up. That one's just dumb. Okay? It's not even, that one's not correct at all. This one has correct intercepts, but not in the correct order. Okay? Listen, you got a question like this on the test. Okay? This is like a layup in basketball. Don't miss it. Okay? Don't miss it. All right? Read the problem, give them what they want. You guys cool? Okay. Now, let's talk about the slope of this line. Okay? How many of you, just out of curiosity, used y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1? Okay? All right. How many of you use rise over run? Okay. I would have used rise over run. And I'll tell you why. Because it's fast. between that dot and that dot, what's my rise? I'm going down 1, 2, 3, yes? So on this instance, m equals rise over run, and that equals down 3, and then let's come back over here, and we go down 3 and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many of you got negative 3/5 for your slope? Say woo. Woo. How many of you did it different than rise over run? How many of you now would use rise over run after seeing that? Raise your hand. Okay, maybe. But yeah, you could totally use y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and you could label these 2 points, xy, xy, 1, 1, 2, 2, or whatever. And you could have done it that way. Cool?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's go to the next page. Let's go to the next page. I'm going to erase that board. If you want to take a picture or do anything with it, you're welcome to, but I'm going to erase it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay? So my next question says find the coordinates of the y-intercept for the equation y equals negative 5x. All right, there's 2 ways to do this problem. You see, because there's 3 ways to find slope and 3 ways to graph a line and all this kind of stuff, a lot of times there's more than one way to find our answer. Okay? So how many of you use y equals mx plus b to find the y-intercept? How many of you use y equals mx plus b to find the y-intercept? Okay, that was a very unique method, but it's a very fast method. What is my equation again? Y equals what?
Negative 5.
Negative 5x. And they want us to find the y-intercept. Do you all agree with me, look up here, that the equation y equals mx plus b will reveal the y-intercept? Because b is the y-intercept, yes or no?
Yes.
So y is y, equal, m is negative 5, x is x. What's b in this equation?
0.
Doesn't exist, but it does exist. Because there's nothing there, it equals 0, okay? And so my y-intercept then would be 0, 0, okay? How do I know that x equals 0? Well, because whenever I want to find an intercept, right, and this is why the intercept method, why you have to know the intercept method, because the intercept method teaches you how to find the x and the y-intercepts. If I want to find the y-intercept, I set its opposite variable equal to 0. What's the opposite of y?
Yes.
So I let x equals 0. So many of you then went y equals negative 5 times 0, which made y equals 0, and x equals 0, and y equals 0, and then you got your 0, 0. Say woo if you did it that way.
Woo.
Okay, say woo if you did it this way.
Woo.
A few woos there. Say woo if you got it right.
Woo.
That sounded like all of you. Good job. Okay. Graph y equals 2x minus 3. Graph y equals 2x minus 3, okay? This is like when your girlfriend says, give me a kiss. You're like, okay. You know, I mean, it's just easy, okay? There's nothing involved in this. It's already in y equals mx plus b form for you. Y equals mx plus b. M equals 2, b equals negative 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay? Put a 4 or 5 here or something like that. Okay, here we go. So we got b equals negative 3 right there. Ding, ding, ding. Okay? Now, I have to use rise over run. What's my rise?
2.
What's my run?
1.
Right, because this is 2 over 1 makes 2. So that equals my rise over my run. So I'm going to go up 2 and over 1, and there's my line. Say woo if you got it right.
Woo.
Easy problem. Whenever they put it in y equals mx plus b form, we're ready to roll. I need you guys to help me right now. We need to write down what are the 3 tools for finding slope, okay? So there's 3 tools that help us find slope. 3 tools. What are they?
Rise over run.
Okay, I like it. Rise over run. That's rise over run. That is definitely one tool to find slope. What's another one? Yeah, y equals mx plus b. Very good. That's another one. And our final one.
y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1.
Beautiful. Okay, every one of these gives us slope. M, M, M. Okay? Now, one thing I didn't ask you to do, but I want you to do right now with me, and I actually want you to write it down on your quiz, is when do we use these tools? When used? Well, that depends on what we're given. So, when do we use y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1? When we're given what? 2 points. Also known as ordered pairs, right? We're going to have an x and a y and an x and a y. Okay? 1, 1, 2, 2. Okay? Alright, whatever. Stop it. Okay. Y equals mx plus b. When do I use y equals mx plus b to find slope? I'm trying to find slope. What am I given? What am I given? Am I given 2 points when I use y equals mx plus b? No, I'm given 2 points when I use this. What am I given when I use this? The equation of the line. Right, given the equation. Very good. Now this one stumped all my other classes today. See if you guys are smarter than the average class. Okay? What am I given when I use rise over run?
The graph?
Sometimes you're given the graph. If you're given the slope, you're given the answer because we're trying to find slope.
Is it with like the grade and the...
Sometimes you're being asked to find grade. Okay. You're given neither. If you go back and you look at your notes, you're given neither 2 points nor the equation of a line, which means you could be given the graph of it, and you could just take your finger and rise and run. You could be given a story problem like, you know, the Rio River, right? Or the, what do we call it? The Rojo River drops 500 feet over a mile, 5,280 feet. Find its grade. You know what I'm talking about? Okay? So we could be given a lot of different situations, but what we're given is neither 2 points nor the equation of a line, and we will be given some rise value and some run value, right? Okay. All right. These next 4 problems are represented by our good classmates up here, and they have done a fantastic job. Every one of these is correct. I want to quickly go over these with you. Please look up here. We're being asked to find the slope of the line passing through these 2 points. Because we were given 2 points, we used y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Love how they wrote both the xy's and they wrote the equation, everything I've taught you to do. They kept track of their negatives super well here. And the answer was 7. Say woo if you got 7. Good job. Okay, our next 2 problems were our next problem, negative 2y equals 5x minus 12. Were we given 2 points? No, we're given what? So we're going to use y equals mx plus b, and indeed, if we look at this, y equals mx plus b, there's m, negative 5 halves. It was an awesome job. Okay, say woo if you got that right. Okay, and again, we're not going to show you how to do that. They're showing you right here. You guys have done this. These last 2 each were single variable equations. Can I share something with you? Do you have to divide this by 4 to know the answer? You don't. You don't have to do any math. Simply seeing that's a single variable equation, memorize the x-axis is horizontal, but an x equation is vertical, and its slope is always undefined. A y equation is the opposite of the y-axis. A y-axis is vertical, therefore a y equation is horizontal. A horizontal line slope is always 0. Now, if you have a hard time memorizing, then go ahead and do this and graph it. That's the only other thing you could have done here. Say, well, x equals 1, 2, 3, and we know that's not going to be the axis. It is a vertical line, and the slope is undefined. That part we have to memorize. We got to memorize that a vertical line is undefined. Again, here, if we wanted to, we could graph this. Y equals negative 1, 2. Right there, obviously it's not this axis, it's this horizontal line, and you can do that, and then you know the slope is 0. So sometimes graphing the line will help you see visually, oh, I have a horizontal or I have a vertical line, and then you can define the slope from there. Cool? Okay, let's go back to the board here. I'm going to be erasing the far left board. So we're being asked to find the slope or grade of the road rising 800 feet over a distance of 5,280 feet. Am I given 2 points here? Am I given 2 points here?
No.
Am I given the equation of a line here? No, I'm given neither, so what's my tool I'm going to use? Rise over run. What is my rise?
800 feet.
Yeah, my rise is 800 feet. What is my run? 5,280 feet, okay? If I want to find that slope, I got to divide these, and I end up with 0.1515 forever and ever and ever. Agreed? They asked me to find the grade. Grade is always given as a what?
Percent.
As a percent. So you have to convert that 1, 2 And I would round that to 15.2%. You're like, oh, what are they going to do on the test? I don't know. We've gone down this road before, right? But all the answers will be consistent. They're not, look at me, they're not going to have one answer that is a repeating decimal and one that's rounded. They're not going to have one answer that's to the 10th place and one answer that's to the 100th place. They're all going to be consistent. So it's going to be very clear which one is the correct answer. Okay? You guys good? Say woo if you got this right. Woo. Good. Okay, last problem. This is a rate of change problem. What does rate of change mean? What does rate of change mean? It's an easy answer. Just say it. Slope means slope. And I told you a long time ago, you better memorize that, right? It's one of the many names of slope. If you don't memorize that rate of change means slope, you're going to look at this problem and you're going to be like, holy crap, what do I do, right? And we talked about, when we're driving, we're sloping. When we're moving, we're sloping, right? You remember that? Yeah. So the rate of change. Two ways to do this problem. Who used rise over run? Raise your hand if you use rise over run. Okay? I always smile because it's just a super fast way to do this problem. Okay? Let's look at this really quick. Okay? The data below shows a recent train ride from Boston to New York. At what rate of change or slope did the train travel? And so if we look at our rise from this point to this point, we're rising from 100 to 400. So we're rising, what's the value? 300. So my rise equals 300. Okay? And if we go across from this point to this point, we're going from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. So how many hours? 3 hours. Okay? And you think about this, this is miles, and divided by hours, which is miles per hour, and we always, just like, look at, grade is always a percent, rate of change, we wrote underneath it, always is a single number, which means we have to divide. So 300, remember we talked about when you get pulled over by the cops, we're not going to say, hey, officer, I was going 300 miles every 3 hours, and I used that voice and everything. Remember that? Yeah. No, we don't do that. We tell them we're going 100 miles an hour because we divide it. And so we got this 100 mph. Say woo if you got it right. Woo. Okay. How many of you use y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1? That's totally fine too. Okay. So we have our first point. Give me the coordinates. 8. 100. Our second point.
11. 400.
Very good. Look at this. X, y, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 makes 400 minus 100 over 11 minus 8 equals 300 over 3. Same exact thing, right? Ends up being 100. Notice what we did here. When we were doing rise over run and we went between 100 and 400, what did you do in your head? You had to subtract them. And you got 300. When we went from 8 to 11, we had to count up. How many hours was that? 3 hours. 11 minus 8 is 3. Or 8 minus 11 is 3. We cool? All right, guys. Good job. Everybody got 100 on the quiz for participation. If you're at home and doing this, you need to take a picture and file upload it to our head grader Bailey so that you can get 100 for taking the quiz today. One of the messages I sent out recently, since last time, was about attendance. Did you see that message about attendance? Okay. For the most part, this class is pretty good on their attendance. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 people here today. Now, enrolled in the class, in this class right now, just double checking my 11:30 to 12:30, we have 23 people in the class. So we have 3 people missing out of 20. Okay? I want you right now to tell me what percent is 3 out of 20. Do the math. Go. What percent is 3 out of 20? No, I'm sorry. 3 out of 23. 3 out of 23.
13%-ish.
How'd you do the math, Trace? How did you do it? Tell us what you did. Teach us.
I used tools available to me.
Okay, but what did you do with those tools? Like, get specific.
I just divided 3 by 23.
That's what I'm looking for. You divided 3 by 23, and you got a decimal, and then you move that decimal 2 places in your mind, probably, right?
No, I just rounded. It's like 1.304, and then just like.
So 3 divided by 23. We all agree that's about 13%?
Yeah.
So 13% of the class is gone today, okay? Well, let me share something with you, okay? Our failure rate in these classes is about 5%. So if 13% of the class is gone, that's almost 3 times as many. And I'm just telling you, and that's what the attendance email was about, is that the only people who fail my classes, do nothing. That's the bottom line. And that was the crux of that email. Don't come to class. Don't do your homework. don't watch the videos, don't fill in the notes, don't send the notes to the grader. That's doing nothing. And you make a habit of it, and pretty soon you're super behind and you're flunking. Okay, first of all, if you are here in class, you're always going to have an advantage. If you're between the ages of 18 and 25 and you're not able to handle this level of math, you've already proven to yourself that online learning is probably not your operandus modi, meaning your mode of successfully learning this material. Okay? So you need to be here. But when you can't be here, it has been made very clear, and it was added in that email, that you watch the video, you fill in the workbook, and then you send pictures of the filled in workbook to our head grader, Bailey, whose email was provided there, so you can get credit. Can I just tell you that that has been the situation the whole semester? Who in here has missed class? Raise your hand if you've missed class. Who in here has sent me a message saying I'm missing class? Who in here has received an email from me telling them that's what they need to do? Raise your hand if you've received an email telling you you need to watch the video and do that, okay? Guess what? 90% of you don't do it. So then you don't get any points. You fail that day's attendance and you fail that day's quiz. So if you're not here today, okay, and you miss class, you're going to miss all the quiz points and all the attendance points unless you watch the video, fill it out, and send us the photos. Cool? Trace, did you have a question?
I thought you answered it.
Okay, cool. All right. I'm not chastising you. I'm simply telling you attendance is critical. And if you get in a habit of missing class and then not doing the work, you're going to get in trouble. Not in trouble with being like, ooh, shame, shame. You're going to get in trouble with your grade. Your grade's going to suffer. Okay? And that's what I'm trying to share with you is I don't want your grade to suffer. I want you to be successful in here. Attending class is the best way to succeed, but when you have to miss, get the work done as outlined in that email. Cool? All right. What time is it?
12:15.
So you got about 15 minutes left of class? All right, let me share something with you. So, if you feel pretty good on this quiz, the only thing we didn't review on the quiz we just took is the homework about finding the equations of lines. And finding the equations of lines, we're going to review that ever so briefly here, but you just had the homework on it. And so combine that with all that you did on the quiz, and you're ready to rock this test. I highly recommend that you take the test before class on Friday, but you have till 11:59 p.m. to get it done on Friday. Why do I recommend you get it done before class? What do you think?
Did we start a new unit?
We're starting a new chapter, and this one will not be as easy as the last one. So you'll want to, if you can, you'll want to have your brain clear to just start chapter 4. But if you don't, you don't. And you go get the test done, and then you'll do your homework afterwards for chapter 4. We're going to be moving pretty hard and pretty fast in chapter 4. So I could go through right now every single problem on the test, problem by problem, and say, you got one of these, you got two of those, you got three of these. But can I share something with you? Your practice test does it for you. If you do the practice test, you are seeing a very clear vision of what's on your test in the order it comes in on the test. Example, look at problem number 1 on the board and number 2. You're given some red dots. You're asked to identify the ordered pair, right? Tell me, everybody, take your time and think because you don't want to answer this incorrectly on a test. Number 2, what's the ordered pair?
0, -2.
I love that you said 0 first. You don't want to say 0 last, right? It's not -2, 0. It's 0, -2. Very good. The most common mistake on this test is people say -2, 0. It's 0, -2. First problem on the test is going to, look at me, it's going to have a graph like this, but it's going to have lots of dots all over, labeled A, B, C, D, E. And you're going to be asked to find the coordinates of one of those points. Maybe on your test it'll be point E. Maybe on your test it'll be point B. Maybe on your test it'll be point C. Okay? But you're all going to be able to do this. And there are some points that are on the axes. Okay? Problem number 2 on the test is just like problem number 3. Asks you if something is a point on the line or a solution to the equation. You know how to do that. You plug X and Y in and see if it's true or false. Easy stuff. Next couple questions on the test. They ask you to find the y-intercept. Look at problem number 5. We just did a problem just like number 5. What is the y-intercept for problem number 5? Everybody, y equals mx plus b. What's b right there?
0.
So the answer is
0.
0, 0 is the y-intercept, right? 0, 0. Because x is always 0 on your y-intercept, but it just so happens that the y value is now 0. Okay, next 4 problems on the test, they ask you to graph equations. One of the problems would be like number 6. It'll be something that if you like the y equals mx plus b method, you'll have to put in y equals mx plus b form. The next 2 problems, like 7 and 8, okay, they will be single variable equations. And problem number 8 is very much a problem that you'll see where they have multiple numbers there. You're going to have to, add, subtract, and get everything on one side so that you have your x equals statement. Tell me something. Is 8 a vertical or a horizontal line?
Vertical.
Vertical, because it's an x equals equation, right? The opposite of the x-axis. Is 7 a vertical or a horizontal line?
Horizontal.
Horizontal. Very good. Very good. So you'll be graphing a horizontal line, a vertical line, and it's multiple choice. So they'll have graphs up there for you to pick which one is the correct one after you graph it on your scratch paper. One of the equations, because I showed there before, one of them is going to already be in y equals mx plus b form. Super easy. Okay? So listen well. Scroll down here to the bottom. At the end of this practice test, how many review problems are there? Count them. How many?
5.
On the actual test, there are 5 retro problems from previous tests. Need I say more? This is like when you send a girl a note and you say, "Do you like me?" And she looks at you and winks and smiles. And then you send her another note like, "I don't understand. Do you like me?" Okay? How many retro questions are on the test? How many are on the review? Need I say more? Review this. This is an awesome practice test to get you very prepared. I want to do 2 problems with you before we leave. This first one, I want to do problem number 12. You've seen this in your homework before. We're going to zoom in here a bit. A realtor can use a linear model to predict the price of a house P. So P stands for price. That has square footage S. That's the size of the home. S for square footage. Assume that for a local real estate market, the equation is P equals 102S plus 22,500. Using this model, which of the following home prices would be reasonable for a realtor selling a 4,000 square foot house? Okay, what do we do with 4,000? What do we do with it?
It would be times 102.
You're going to multiply it times 102. So you're plugging it in for what value?
S.
S, because it is the square footage of the home. So I want you right now, I want you to plug 4,000 into here and get me an answer and then add 22,500 and tell me what P equals.
It's like 305.5.
So 408,000 should be what? 4,000 times 102 plus 22,500. And so combine that and I get $430,500. Say woo if you got that.
Woo.
Hard or easy?
Easy.
Is that answer on the board?
No.
This is when students are taking this test and they start getting a brain wedgie and all anxious and they're hyperventilating, Okay? Look up here. Would be reasonable, right? This is when we're using our God-given gift of common fetching sense. Reasonable. Okay? Not necessarily equal to, but reasonable, right? We're selling something. We look up a Kelley Blue Book value for a car. Do we have to charge the Kelley Blue Book value? And usually it's a range anyways, right? So what's a reasonable value? Which one?
44.
Say it loud.
440,000.
That's the closest one. It's 440,000. I mean, what do you want to charge a little more than what its value is? See if you can get a little more for it? Yeah. Okay, 440,000. Okay, we cool? Okay, next problem that I want to do that is on your practice test, it's similar to the test, is the target heart rate problem. You had one of these in your homework for section 3.5. I want to do this one together right now. So this is a write the equation of a line problem. Write the equation of the line that represents the target heart rate when compared to age. Then use the equation to predict the target heart rate for someone who is 65 years old. We're going to use this board down here. So first of all, if you remember, let's look up here. We chanted this out earlier, you know, graph, slope, intercept equation. Graph, slope, intercept equation. Are they asking us to find the graph of this line? Everybody, come on, participate.
No.
Are we being asked to find the graph?
No.
The slope?
No.
The intercepts?
No.
The equation?
Yes.
Okay. Once we've identified that, then we know what tool we got to use. Now, when we want to find the equation of a line, we memorized a 4-step process, but I'm going to succinctly put it into 3 steps. Find M, find B, plug them into y equals mx plus b, and you're done. The other step was, how do you find b? Well, you plug mx and y into y equals mx plus b to find them, but you've got that all in your notes. So look at this problem. My first step is to find m. What am I given that can allow me to find m?
2 points.
2 points. What tool do I use, everybody, when I'm given 2 points? What tool do I use? It's up there.
M equals y2
Very good. So m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Please read, what are the points we have?
20, 150,
Uh-huh.
40, 135.
Very good. So this is x, y, we can say 1, 1, 2, 2. All right. So y2 is 135 minus 150 over x2 is 40 minus 20. I end up with negative 15 over 20, which equals negative 3/4. In the medical profession, when we talk about medical formulas, we usually convert fractions to decimals because medical professionals, nurses, doctors, PAs, others, if they're trying to plug something in, they want to plug it into a calculator and give you a fast answer, and the decimal will be a faster way to do that. So this is going to be called negative what? 0.75. So it could be either one, so be prepared for that. Okay, be prepared for that. Now that we have found m, we got to find b. Remember how to find b? We take y equals mx plus b, and we have to pick a value of y and x, and we got to plug in the m that we just found. So m we know is negative 3/4. So what x and y value do you want to use? Doesn't matter.
21.
I'm using 20 and 150. They're smaller. Okay? 4 cancels with 20 makes a 5. I got 150 equals negative 15 plus b. I add 15 to each side. I get 165 equals b. If I write my equation, look up here, y equals mx plus b, and I'm feeling pretty chuffed right now because I'm like, oh man, I got all my values. Y equals negative 3/4 x plus 165. The answer on the test says, look up here, t equals negative 0.75a plus 165. Why does the answer say this, but we got that? Let's discuss this. We got 5 minutes. Yes?
T is for target heart rate.
Very good. We don't know, what is y, right? We're a medical professional. We're looking for target heart rate, right? We're trying to help somebody with their health. And so we look at the y-axis, and what is on the y-axis? What is it? T, target heart rate. Exactly. So they're replacing the y with a t. And then what determines target heart rate? Your age. And age is on the x-axis, so age is A. It says it up there. They didn't put A down here, but they tell you up there age is A, and they have age down there, and it's in years. And so that's where A comes in. And what about the negative 0.75? Can we handle that? They converted negative 3/4 to negative 0.75. Does that trouble us? We got the skills to pay those bills. We know how to manipulate things to look different but remain the same. We're good with it. Okay? The last part of this question says, let's use the equation to predict the target heart rate for someone who is 65 years old. Well, you could look at this and be like, 65 is about right in here, and you could kind of look there, but you're never going to know exactly what it is until you plug it in. Where are we going to plug 65? Where are we going to plug 65?
For A.
For A. We're going to put it right in there. Multiply those two, add 165 to it, you'll have your target heart rate. I'm going to let you do that at home, okay? Because the answer's in the back of the book to this, and I want you to get that experience. Do you have any questions for me? That ends our review for this test. That's a very thorough review. Your practice test is critical for you to do, right? Okay. Did I ask you at the beginning of class, do we have any problem making our visual chart for this test? Okay, 4 boxes, right? Following that theme of, graphing, slope, intercept equation, but intercepts fall under basics, because there's a couple of basics like horizontal, vertical lines, is, a point a solution to an equation by plugging it in, stuff like that. Those are all part of basics. But if you go back through your book, every section was labeled basics, graphing, right, slope, equation, so you know where to get that information, how to plug it into your visual chart. Make a solid visual chart. This test, more than any test we take, requires some memorization, doesn't it? You have to know your 3 tools for slope over there, and when they're used. You got to know that the slope of a vertical line is. The slope of a vertical line is undefined. Slope of a horizontal line is 0. You got to have that memorized. That's under basics. You got a horizontal vertical line chart that should be under your basics. Right? You got little details like that you got to memorize, right? You got to know how to find the equation of a line. What are your steps? Find M, find B, right? Plug M and B into Y equals MX plus B. You got to know those things, okay? So make sure you have written and created a great visual chart, and then do this practice test, and you are ready to roll. Okay, who has their book here today for chapter 4 and 5? Raise your hand. Okay, good. I lied to you. I told you we were going to use it today. I did it on purpose to make sure you had it by Friday.
I kind of thought you would do the same thing because I would do that.
So, I found this trick in marriage, and now we're on YouTube. I'm going to get in real trouble for recording this. So, my wife says, usually I'm the designated driver on trips. She says, what time do we need to leave? I'm like, 7:30 in the morning. Okay, I'll be ready. We really don't need to leave until 8. She's still blow drying her hair at 7:30. I'm not upset, You guys have a good one. I'll see you Friday. Okay?
Do you mind if I write that down?